pain. Lately, I've become very well acquainted with it. The type that comes when you've been hurt repeatedly by the same person.
Relationships are complicated.
The movie kicks off with a flashback, revealing a pivotal moment where Tessa's mother, Carol, shows her father, Richard, the door. Because he struggled with alcohol and lost his job, Tessa's dad, Richard, had to leave home when she was young. Tessa tried to stop him, but he still left. Now Tessa and Hardin find Richard on the streets and bring him back home. He's really happy to see his daughter again. Richard assumes that Tessa's mom never told her about his attempts to reach out. Hardin isn't too pleased with this because he doesn't trust Richard, especially after hearing his rude comments at the table. So Tessa takes him aside for a chat and asks him to chill out. Hardin admits he doesn't trust the guy and wants to look out for Tessa, but she insists she doesn't need his protection. Later, Hardin has a one-on-one chat with Richard. Richard is offered money by Hardin, who says he knows that's why Richard's here, but he won't let him hurt Tessa. However, Richard mentions he doesn't want any money, he just wants a good relationship with his daughter. Meanwhile, Tessa and Hardin's stepbrother Landon go to the park together. He asks her about her plans to settle in Seattle. Hardin arrives, listening to the last part of their conversation, and mentions that it seems like Landon knows more about her than he does. Tessa explains it's a great opportunity for her and she hoped he would come with her. However, Hardin says he wanted to go to London with her and planned to tell her, but it doesn't matter now. Tessa suggests they continue the discussion later because she has to go to class. When Hardin comes back home, he calls his mom Trish. She asks about Tessa's plans, mentioning that Vance told her about them. Hardin gets angrier, feeling like everyone knows about the situation except him. Later, he goes to a club with Richard, where they get into a fight with another man. The man made rude comments about Tessa after seeing a picture they were sharing. Tessa got a call from the bartender and came to pick them up. Later that night, Hardin apologized to her because she was mad at them. He explained they fought because the man was making comments about her. The next morning, Richard talked to her. Richard tells Tessa that since she's moving, he will leave the house too. She tries to stop him, but he already has a ride waiting. He won't stay. Tessa gives him her number, asking him not to disappear again. After Richard leaves, Hardin and Tessa argue again. Hardin asks if she will send him away next. Tessa says moving to Seattle is her dream and it would be great if he comes with her. However, Hardin says he can't live a flashy life. He says he doesn't have anything in Seattle except her, and that's not enough for him. This makes Tessa angry. Later, she goes to Vance Publishing, where Kimberly offers her a place to stay when they move to Seattle. Tessa found out about this through Kimberly. Vance offered a job to Hardin in Seattle, and it could be anything he wanted, but Hardin turned it down. Tessa talks to Hardin about the job, and he explains that he didn't want it and didn't know she was also moving there at the time. Tessa and Hardin spend a weekend at the lake house with Hardin's father, stepmother, and stepbrother. They have a blast there, and Hardin talks more with his stepfamily. Tessa chats with Landon and says she's having second thoughts about moving away, but he advises her to follow her dreams. He says if Hardin loves her, he'll find a way to be with her. Later that night, they enjoy some time in the hot tub. They head out for dinner at a restaurant where Hardin meets his old friend Lillian and seems to have a great bond with her, which makes Tessa a little jealous. Hardin goes to sit with his friend while they all get ready to order. At their table, a waiter named Robert comes to take their order and seems to pay extra attention to Tessa. While she responds to his advances, Hardin returns to his family's table to prevent them from flirting. Back at the lake house, everyone is elsewhere, leaving Tessa and Hardin alone. They spend some steamy time in the hot tub. After that, Hardin asks her if she's moving to Seattle for Trevor. And if she ever had any feelings for him, Tessa admits that she felt something for him at a moment. Upon hearing that, Hardin storms away. When Tessa tries to contact him, he tells her that he is out with Lillian. Tessa also decides to go out. She meets Robert, who invites her to join them. As they are staying after hours at the hotel, Robert and Tessa talk casually. When Hardin shows up there with Lillian, she mentions that she heard about Tessa's move and thinks it's great that she's going to Seattle. During their conversation, Tessa learns that Lillian is a lesbian and already has a girlfriend. Tessa declines and leaves the hotel with Robert, apologizing to him for leading him on. He gives her his number, suggesting she could contact him when she's in the city. Upon returning home, Tessa finds Hardin packing. He's angry after finding Robert's number in Tessa's belongings and insists that Despite her claim of thinking of Robert as a friend, he knows the waiter has other intentions. When Tessa asks if it's about her moving away, he accuses her of getting a job because Vance favors her. Tessa becomes furious. Hardin asserts that she won't give up the job for him. Their argument escalates and Tessa leaves for Seattle. Hardin meets Vance. When he meets Vance, he's told that he didn't provide any favor to Tessa, and she secured the job on her merit because of her talent. When Hardin returns home, Tessa has already departed for Seattle. He discovers her journal among the items she left behind, which she described. Tessa starts her regular work life in Seattle, experiencing pain from her relationship with Hardin. After several days without contacting Hardin, she finally calls him. She initially cuts the call upon hearing a woman's voice behind him, but he instantly calls her back. He explains that it's her training instructor and he had joined boxing classes to channel his anger elsewhere rather than directing it towards humans. They reconcile after that and continue calling each other regularly. Tessa sits down with Kimberly and Vance at night for a talk, during which they share that they are expecting a baby. Back at home, Hardin visits Tessa. He returns her journal. He admits that he didn't intend to read it, but he couldn't control himself. Hardin expresses remorse for the pain Tessa felt. He apologizes for causing her suffering. Tessa explains that she didn't want him to read it, but Hardin emphasizes his regret and self-disgust for his actions. They share a gentle kiss, but Hardin recalls his dream and pulls back, suggesting they shouldn't keep Kimberly and Vance waiting during dinner. Since his arrival, he hadn't interacted much with her. Eventually, Hardin opens up about his dream, explaining that he couldn't shake the thoughts from his mind. He confesses that he keeps thinking Tessa should be with someone else to make things easier for her. Tessa reassures Hardin that she doesn't want to be with anyone else but him. She tells him not to worry about those concerns. At the breakfast table the next morning, Hardin receives a call from his mother. As he steps away to answer it, Kimberly tells Tessa that his mother is getting married. Later, when Tessa brings up the topic, she expresses that if he doesn't want to take her with him, she understands. Hardin responds by saying he isn't planning to attend, but if he goes, he'll take her with him. He promises to think about it. Hardin leaves Seattle, and upon returning home, he discovers Richard there battered and bruised. Richard explains that he owes money to certain individuals who had beaten him. Hardin offers Richard his watch, instructing him to sell it to pay off his debt. Meanwhile, in Seattle, Tessa visits the hospital. She goes to obtain birth control medication, but the doctor informs her that she doesn't require it due to issues with her cervix, which would make conception difficult. Hardin speaks with his father about transferring to Seattle. His father suggests waiting until his graduation in 2 months. To ensure he's part of his son's achievement, Hardin agrees. Then, he discusses his mother's upcoming wedding. His father indicates that she'll be happy, as Mike, the man Tessa is marrying, is a good person. Returning to Seattle, Hardin attends an event hosted by Vance and informs Tessa that he plans to move there. Later, he speaks with Vance, who questions why he isn't attending his mother's wedding. Hardin responds that he doesn't want to involve Tessa in his old life by taking her to the wedding. Vance advises Hardin that Hardin and Tessa attend the wedding, where Tessa quickly bonds with Trish, while During the event, Kimberly talks with Tessa and reveals that she's aware of Vance's infidelity, but can't stay angry with him because she loves him. Meanwhile, Hardin visits a bar with Vance, and they discuss the events of the previous night. Vance then reveals to Hardin that he is his biological father. After the revelation, Hardin storms out, and Tessa goes after him. They meet in the middle of the road, where they hug and share a passionate kiss. Do let us know which movie we should pick next. Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Until next time, see you all.